This has gotta be the weirdest twist in sports. The Yips.
The Yips? That's bad.
You're the champ, the crowd's going wild. Then suddenly, your own body flips on you. It's like you're the butt of a mean joke, with no one laughing. This strange glitch messes up athletes' moves, making it feel like you forgot how to text when you were just about to send a cool message to your crush. Hit that like and subscribe button, folks. Let's dive deeper into the fumbles and stumbles of these baseball stars. Chuck Knoblauch. Chuck started off like a shooting star with the Minnesota Twins, scooping up the Rookie of the Year in '91 and notching a World Series win under his belt. Things were all peaches and cream, with Chuck zipping balls across the field with the precision of a ninja. Then came the shift to the New York Yankees. And boy, did things take a turn. Picture this. Year 2000, a game against the Chicago White Sox, and Chuck tosses not one, not two, but 3 errors in just 6 innings. One wild throw even met a fan. Talk about an unexpected souvenir. This was the sinister debut of his battle with the Yips, a saga that saw him migrate miserably to the left field and eventually hang up its cleats in 2003. Off the diamond, Chuck wrestled with the spotlight and the psychological whirlwind that comes with watching your skills vanish like your phone's battery at 1%. Steve Sachs. Enter Steve Sachs, a speed demon with the Los Angeles Dodgers, swiping bases and hearts, until the Yips decided to crash his party in 1983. Dubbed the Steve Sachs syndrome, it was like his arm developed a mind of its own, throwing balls with the accuracy of a stormtrooper. The most jaw-dropping episode? A throw so off-target it almost needed its own passport. Despite these comedy-worthy throws, Steve wasn't about to let this funny business define him. With a cocktail of mental grit and endless practice, cheered on by his dad, Steve not only tamed his throws, but also scored the top fielding percentage among second basemen in 1989. Off the field, his saga is a testament to battling through the mental mazes that athletes face, proving that sometimes the game is won in the mind before it's won on the field. Rick and Keel. Rick and Keel's roller coaster ride with the Yips is one for the history books. As a hotshot pitching prospect for the St. Louis Cardinals, and Keel was the guy everyone had their eyes on. His debut season in 2000? Stellar! He was tossing strikeouts like a chef tosses salad, boasting a sleek ERA to boot. But then came the National League Division Series. And boy, did things go south. And Keel dished out 5 wild pitches in just 1 inning. Talk about a meltdown. It was the start of his infamous dance with the Yips. Despite his best efforts to tweak and fine-tune his pitching, the struggle was real, and he found himself playing in the minors. But here's where it gets movie-worthy. And Keel didn't just return, he reinvented himself. Swapping his pitcher's glove for an outfielder's glove, he stormed back into the majors in 2000, swinging bats and throwing fire from the field. His transformation, detailed in his memoir The Phenomenon, wasn't just a career change, it was a battle against the mental monsters of baseball. Jon Lester. Next up, Jon Lester, a maestro on the mound with a bit of a sticky wicket. Playing for the big leagues with the Boston Red Sox and the Chicago Cubs, Lester was a sight to behold, except when it came to throwing to first base. Around 2010, it was clear something was off. Despite being a powerhouse pitcher, Lester's pickoff move looked more like a nervous twitch. But being the champ he is, he didn't let that stop him. Developing ninja-like strategies, from quick pitches to trusting his catcher's arm, Lester kept his game strong. He bagged all-star titles and even World Series wins, proving that a little hiccup couldn't keep a good man down. Off the field, Lester's saga is a testament to the power of adaptation and the mental gymnastics athletes perform to stay at the top. Saltalamacchia. And finally, Saltalamacchia, a name as long as his initial throws were strong. As a catcher known for shutting down the running game, Saltalamacchia was the backstop every pitcher trusted. But then, the Yips crept in, turning his simple throws back to the pitcher into a spectacle of errors. During his tenure with the Boston Red Sox, this snag hit hard, denting his confidence and letting more balls and runners slip past than a leaky faucet. Yet, Saltalamacchia wasn't one to just sit down and sulk. He doubled down. working tirelessly to iron out the kinks in his armor. His journey is a gritty reminder of the mental hurdles that players often face behind the scenes and the relentless spirit needed to overcome them. Daniel Bard. Picture this. Daniel Bard, a pitcher who could throw fastballs faster than your car on the highway, was living the dream with the Boston Red Sox. But in 2012, it was like someone put a hex on him. His once mighty pitches started going everywhere but the strike zone, making him the baseball equivalent of a rebel without a cause. After a string of demotions and what seemed like a million wild pitches, he called it quits in 2017. But wait, plot twist, in 2020, like a baseball phoenix rising from the ashes, Bard made an epic return with the Colorado Rockies. He conquered his fears and once again became the guy you could count on in a pinch. Daniel's story isn't just about baseball, it's a lesson in never giving up, even when the game seems over. Macky Sasser. Now, let's talk about Macky Sasser, who donned the catcher's mitt for the New York Mets. Things got real weird in 1989 when Macky developed a bizarre case of the yips. Throwing the ball back to the pitcher, a move usually as easy as texting LOL, suddenly felt like rocket science to him. This snag turned every game into a cringe fest, not just for him, but for everyone watching. After hanging up his cleats in 1995, Macky didn't just go off and sulk. He sought therapy, got over his throwing blues, and turned his mess into his message by coaching up-and-coming players. He's the guy who turned "if at first you don't succeed" into a sports coaching career. Mark Wohlers. Next in our trio of tribulation is Mark Wohlers, a closing pitcher for the Atlanta Braves who was practically invincible in the mid-90s. That was until 1998 rolled around, and his magical pitching arm started to have a mind of its own. His pitches started finding fans in the stands more often than the catcher's mitt. Mark's ERA shot up like a rocket, and he found himself riding the bus to the minors, trying to find his lost mojo. Despite bouncing around teams and battling his way back to the mound, he never quite captured his former glory. From hero to zero, Mark's story is a harsh reminder that sports can be as unforgiving as they are exhilarating. Steve Blass. Ever heard of Steve Blass disease? It's not something you catch from a tick or a sneeze, but from the mysterious depths of baseball psychology. Steve Blass, the star of the 1971 World Series with the Pittsburgh Pirates, suddenly couldn't throw a strike to save his life, starting in 1973. Imagine being on top of the world one day and the next, you can't even toss a ball across the street without creating chaos. His ERA went through the roof, and he was practically giving free passes to batters with more walks than innings pitched. Despite twisting and tweaking every part of his pitching, Steve couldn't shake off the gremlins at his arm and had to hang up his cleats by 1974. His tale is a spooky baseball legend, reminding us that sometimes the game throws you a curveball that you just can't hit. Matt Garza. Then there's Matt Garza, a solid pitcher who could handle pressure but suddenly found himself playing hot potato with a baseball. Starting in 2012, while with the Chicago Cubs, Garza developed a funky hitch in his throw to first base. This quirk turned him into a favorite target for bunters, who loved watching him scramble. It was like a Little League drill gone horribly wrong. Every attempt to throw the ball became a spectacle of errors and strategic facepalms. Despite the comedy of errors, Garza stuck around, chewing through innings and keeping his head above water in the majors until he retired in 2017. His journey through the yips was like riding a roller coaster blindfolded. Thrilling, scary, and a bit nauseating, but always memorable. Tackling the yips is like fixing a very quirky old car. It requires a mix of mental tune-ups and physical adjustments. Some athletes turn to techniques like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is kind of like teaching your brain to stop freaking out at the worst times. Others might try mindfulness or relaxation exercises to chill out the nerves. On the flip side, tweaking things like how you throw or switching up your grip can also throw a curveball at those pesky yips. The Yip saga has hit a lot of players hard, each with their dramatic twists. Remember Chuck Knoblauch's throw gone wild days? Or Steve Sachs wrestling with the ghost of doubts in his mind? These guys went through the emotional ringer, battling not just balls and bats, but their inner gremlins too. Yet, stories like Daniel Bard and Rick Ankiel, who turned their game around, prove that while the road might be bumpy, a comeback is never off the table. These tales not only highlight the fight against an invisible opponent, but also the spotlight of the critical role of mental well-being in sports. So here's to the fighters, the ones who remind us why sometimes the most formidable opponents are the ones you can't see. What's your take on battling the Yips? Got any miracle cures or horror stories to share? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this dive into the mysterious world of sports psychology, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more cool stories. Catch you in the next one.